again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. Today I'm going to be working on my packaging journal and I'm actually going to show you how I made the lay flat cover. So you can see here the cover lays flat and it's a traveler's notebook sort of style with elastic in it, and then you can put in whatever pages you want in it. And I made two signatures to go in it out of all different sorts of packaging. Now the video on that, I showed that last week and there was quite a bit of interest in it. And in that video I said if anyone wants to know how to make the cover, to leave a comment below. And I got a few people asking me to show you how I made the cover. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make the cover. You can see that I have done a little bit of collage on the front of the two signatures, and I'm going to show that later in the video. Then at the end of the video I will be decorating the inside of this for the challenge, and the challenge name is #Scraptember2025 and it's run by Margreth from Seven Plaza and Toni from CraftybyToni. And I'm going to pull in two prompts to decorate the inside cover that I have used on the front of this one. And it's texture and flowers. So I'm going to do the inside, put some pockets on and decorate that at the end. So stick around till the end for seeing that. So we'll pop that one to the side and we'll get started on the measurements for making the cover. So I'll just give you a little bit of background about the cover. I didn't design this method of how to put this cover together. I found this lay flat method from Tiffany at Let's Get Scrappy, and I will link her video below on the video that I watched on how to make lay flat covers. Now she does them for photo albums or scrapbook albums, things like that, things to put photos in. But I liked the principle behind the lay flat that she was showing, and I think, to be honest, I think she got the lay flat method from somebody else named Tamra, but I got it from Tiffany, so I'll link the video below of hers. Now her album is a completely different size. The size is kind of irrelevant. You can make your cover any size that you want it to be, the size you want your journal. But the method of how you construct it, you can transfer that method to any size that you want. So I wanted to make a cover for an A5 notebook. Now, as my regulars would know, I live in Australia, so we use metric. So an A5 notebook is half of an A4 sheet. So I wanted to be able to have a journal that I could slide in two A5 notebooks into the cover and replace them if I wanted to. So I have all of these notebooks that I picked up on clearance from Spotlight, and it was a pack of 3 for $3. So I essentially was getting my notebooks for $1 each, which makes it perfect for me for making notebooks as gifts. And I have made them before and given them to different people in the past. So that was why I've made it the size I've made it. Now, from an efficiency point of view, it's not overly efficient on the sizes that I will give you today. And you'll see that from some sizes, you only get one piece of cardstock. But you can make it whatever size you want. But I'll be going with the size that I have used, and I don't tend to have any wastage because I do different size books. But that's the reason it's the size that it is so that it can fit in two A5 notebooks. Okay, so let's pull out the sizes and the materials. So I've used chipboard on my cover. So you're going to need some chipboard or something a little bit sturdier. You can see that this is just off of some paper, or actually a cardstock, I think it was. I've got lots of these and I end up cutting them up. I think the thickness of my chipboard here is either 1.2 or 1.4 millimeters. So that's like 1/32th, I think it is, of an inch. Like, so quite, it's sturdy. You can hear it. It's sturdy, but it's not overly thick. So you're going to need two pieces that are 6 1/4. Now you can see that this is not efficient for people that are wanting to get two pieces out of one piece of 12 by 12. But for me, that doesn't really matter too much because the offcut, that is 5 3/4, I actually do another journal out of the remainder, and it's actually 7.5 by 5.5. So I end up using the offcut from this size journal for my other journals. So I end up using my chipboard anyway, so I don't tend to waste any. But if this is a problem for you, just adjust it so that you can get the most out of your chipboard sheet. But you can see here it's 6 1/4 by 8.5, and in centimeters that is 15.9 by 21.6 centimeters, and you need two of those. So that's that one. You also need a spine, and I normally do this one at 1 1/4, and the journal that I have made for my packaging is 1 1/4 by 8.5. But my packaging journal is because I'm using packaging, it's a little bit chunky. It's going to get a little bit of a crocodile. So I'm actually going to do this one at 1.5 by 8.5, which is 3.9 by 21.6. You just need one of those, and that's for the spine. Then you need some double-sided adhesive, and this just needs to be slightly smaller than those measurements. So just cut it 1/2 centimeter or 5 millimeters smaller in both directions than the measurement of the chipboard, and that means just cut it 1/8 of an inch in both directions, smaller than the measurement on the chipboard. And that's just so that it fits onto the chipboard. Now, I actually am being a little bit frugal, and this is an A4 sheet of double-sided adhesive, and I just cut it in half for those of you that deal with metric. And it is a little bit short, but it will be fine. Don't go cutting extra for covering it right to the edge. Like I said, I just used one A4 sheet to cut that in half. Now you'll need something to cover it with. Now you can use some packaging, some brown paper, and the brown paper would be really good because I've got really big sheets of brown paper, and down the track you need bigger pieces. You could use some brown packaging. I'm actually using craft cardstock here, and it is 176 GSM. Okay, so I just looked up that 176 GSM, and that's approximately 47-pound bond, if that makes sense to you. Now, you're going to need two pieces of something, like I said, something to cover it. So yes, I'm using lighter weight cardstock. You'll need two pieces that are 8 1/4 by 10.5, which is 21 by 26.7 centimeters. So you'll need two of those. And you'll need one piece that is 4.5 inches by 10.5 inches, which is 11.4 by 26.7. You're also going to need some double-sided adhesive to go onto your spine. So that could be some double-sided tape. It doesn't need to be cut from a double-sided sheet, but I have some offcuts that I'm using a bit of a scrap. So so I've used double-sided tape before on here, and it's fine. Okay, so let's start putting this together. So the first thing you're going to need is one of your chipboard covers and one of your large pieces of double-sided adhesive that is slightly smaller than your chipboard. And I'm just going to peel it down and then fold it. You can see that I've folded the adhesive, and that's just so that I can line it up, get it fairly centered, and then push that piece down. And Then I'll pull this one out and work it down. And keep this because when I have some, I put sticky tape onto it, and you can see that I've coloured in my sticky tape with alcohol marker, and you can make your own coloured sticky tape. So this paper is fantastic for that. So give it a really good burnish so that there's no air bubbles. Okay, so you would do that to both. Then pull out one of your covers. So I'll leave that one there so you can see the measurement. And you're going to cover your chipboard. So peel off the adhesive and keep the sheet. And then you want to center this as best as you can. And there should be around about an inch or 2.5 centimeters all the way round. So put it down, turn it over, give it a really good burnish so that you get rid of any air bubbles. And then with your bone folder, just score along the edge on each side. And it will just put a little bit of an imprint into your cardstock and give your cardstock a bit of an idea of where it's got to bend. Okay, so just a little bit of a score. Now work it back and forward, so just fold it gradually. Don't try and bend it all in one go because that's when your cardstock might crack. So just give it a little bit of a fold. And then the same here. And the other way. And now I'm going to give it a really good burnish all the way around. And burnish every side. Okay, so you can see that that's now bending very easily and it's not going to crack. Now we want to miter the corners. So when we're mitering the corners, we want to leave around about 0.5 centimeter from the corner of the chipboard, which is just over 1/8 of an inch. You want to cut it on a miter. Now, some people have those fantastic corner devices. I don't have that, but you can see that I'm not cutting it too close to the corner. And that's because I want to actually cover my corner. I don't want my corner to be visible. So just cut off every corner with leaving that little bit of excess. Now we bring out our art glitter glue. I'm using art glitter glue because I find it the best and I want it to really stick. I don't use anything else on it. Some people use double-sided tape. I have found, especially with our humid climate here in Brisbane, that the double-sided tape can eventually give way. So I just use art glitter glue. Now squeeze a little bit along the edge of your chipboard and then put some along the edge of just one side. Do one at a time. And I'm going to burnish that down. When I burnish it, I'm going to let a little bit ooze out down into that excess little hole. And I'll show you. See how that's gone down into here? I don't mind if it does that because I need to get some glue in there. We'll do the other side. I tend to work side to side. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to do the other ends. You want to make sure you've got a little bit into those little bits. And we're just going to push them in slightly with our bone folder. And I'll show you what I mean. So I've just pushed in that corner. You can see that the corner's been pushed in slightly. This side might be better. You can see that this is just pushed in and it's not straight. It's sort of tilted in to the center a little bit, which is what you want. Give it a little bit of a fold and then really push that corner down and into the center. Don't worry about if some ooze comes out. It's going to get covered up anyway. And the same on this corner. You can see that you want to push the corner in and into the center. Burnish it down and really push on that corner to get it to go down. And I'll show you what has happened by pushing it in. You can see that this, maybe I'll hold it like this. This little piece here is actually folded in slightly and it's not sticking out. Sometimes if you fold it over and it's not pushed in, you get those little when you look at the other side, you get little dog ears sticking out, which you don't want. You want it folded in. All right, so we'll do it again. So put a little bit of glue in that hole, in that little fold, a little bit of a squirt of glue. With the tip of your bone folder, just push that corner in slightly, and the other side, just push it in like that. Okay, and there we have it covered. And you can see that the corners are not sticking out. They're nice and tight. So do the other one now, and then once you've got them both done, we'll do the spine. And by magic of the camera, I have another one done. So there we go, we have both of them done. To do our spine, you need this piece here, the 4.5 by 10.5, and you need one of your spines, which is that size there. I'll leave it there for you. So pull out either your double-sided tape or your piece of adhesive and pop it on. I'm just going to lay it down first, get it centered. Put that down and give it a good burnish and peel it off. And we're going to center this. Now you'll see that it has quite a lot more on the sides than it does on the top and bottom. So you want it around about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters from the top and bottom, and then just centered in the other direction. So we're going to do the same thing again. So just draw around it with your bone folder to get the fibers in the cardstock thinking. And then we're going to give it a little bit of a fold. And the same on the ends. So turn it over, and what we're going to do now is we're going to work our bone folder on the other side of it. So on the good side, we're going to just work the bone folder around the side of the chipboard, really, around through the cardstock. And just putting a little bit of pressure onto it. So now what we want to do is we want to fold up the top and the bottom, and you fold it up and then push into that side and out. And the same on this side, push into the side and out. Do it the same here. Push into there and out. And into the side of the chipboard and out. And what we're going to do is you're going to cut from one point to the other on there. I'll show you again. So we're cutting from this line to this line. We'll do it on the other side. Cut from this line to that line. And we'll do the same down the other end. Now we'll get some glue and run some glue along the edge and all the way along this bit here at the bottom. And see, that's where I put the adhesive. You can spread it out to the edge if you want. Now I'm going to fold that up and work that into the side of the chipboard and then out. Just mop up whatever excess you've got. And then the same on this side, work it out. And you want it to be really well glued there and pushed in. You can see that it's quite tight and firm. Do the same down the other end. Burnish that down. Work it into the side of the chipboard and then out. Okay. So now while it's still a little bit damp, that glue, turn it over and really go along the edge of that on the good side. And you can see that I'm not using the point of my tool. I'm really using way down here, the softer edge. You don't want to put a hole in it. There's no coming back from that. So you can see that we have a 1.5 inch spine and then 1.5 overhang and 1.5 overhang. Now what you want to do now is you really want to fold this and get it to like bending. Okay, so I'm going to fold it. Come back, push into that line again. I'm just really waiting for this glue to dry a little bit and working the fibres. Okay, now you'll need some long nose scissors. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the scissors up to the edge of the bottom or the top, and I'm going to just cut on a very slight miter, and I'll show you the piece that I cut off. There it is there. We'll do that again. Push the scissors up and we're just going to get close to the edge and cut a slight miter. You can see that it's just slight mitered, and it's not cutting right on the corner. Not cutting right on the corner. We'll do the other end. You can kind of see now why it's important that you really squish that glue in, because we're laminating the end fibres together, and that's so that you can't see into the chipboard. Okay, so there we go, that's our spine, and when it folds over now, you can see that the ends are not sticking out beyond the top or the bottom. All right, we're almost there actually. So now what we want to do is glue our two pieces to the spine. So just really make sure that spine is happy to be folding. Give it another burnish. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to put some glue on this and glue our face together. So you want to put a line of glue and come down around about 1/2 centimetre, or a good 1/8 of an inch, and you can see there how much I've left. Now what you want to do is, before you glue this on, just tap the side into it, and you can see that I've just slid that edge into the glue, and that's because I'm just getting a little bit of glue on it. Now line it up, and what we want to do is we want to line the edges up like that. Okay. Now if you don't want any glue coming through, you can wipe it out. I've got one little piece of ooze, so I will wipe that out before it gets too gloopy. And I'm just holding that so it does set a little bit, and now I'm going to burnish it. So give it a really good burnish and mop up any excess. You can see I've got a tiny little bit here. I don't want that in showing, so give it a good rub. Now we repeat that process on the other side. So some glue, 1/2 centimetre down, or 1/4 of an inch, probably more like 1/4 of an inch than 1/8 of an inch. Now when you line this one up, line it up with the edge, the top edge, but just check down here too that you've got it straight. You can see that I'm just folding it and gluing it together. Give it a bit of a push. I didn't get ooze on that one, which was good. Now burnish. There's our lay flat cover. You can see that it lays flat and it opens and closes very, very easily. Fabulous. Okay, so now what we've got to do is we've got to cover this. So depending on what size yours is, you may get it out of a 12-inch sheet, but most of the time not. So you can see that I have cut a piece of 12-inch or 30.5 centimeter wide piece of cardstock, and it is 8 3/8 high. And that's because our height of our journal is 8.5 inches. So we want it just to be 1/8 of an inch shorter. So that brings it to 21.3 centimeters, and it's the 12 inches wide. So I'm going to glue that down. So I'm just going to put some glue onto this. Now you could use double-sided adhesive sheet if you wanted to, but my climate here doesn't really go well with that. The front's not too bad because it's wrapped around and held tight, but this could potentially lift over time. So I prefer to use glue, and I'm just going to cut a piece to fit in here, and it will measure 2 1/8, which is 5.4 centimeters, and we're doing 8 3/8 high, the measurement I gave you before. And it, like I said, I'm just using craft cardstock. I'm not sure whether you heard me mention on the previous video that I always make 2. Once you've got that glued down, you do need to work this. So just gradually bend it and lift, and use the side of your bone folder, not the tip. So you can see I'm just working it and slowly lifting it up until it's happy to bend. Okay, now we'll do the same with the other side. Find that line, and with the side of your bone folder, just work it slowly. So there we go, there's our journal cover. It's working quite nicely, and you can come through and decorate it however you like. And the only other thing that I do now is put some holes in it. I measure up around about 6 millimeters, which is just under 1/4 of an inch, or 3/16. So with this one, I'm going to come in around about a centimeter from the fold and up 6 millimeters. And then I'll do the same on the other end. So that in Imperial is 3/8 of an inch from the fold on either side. And then I'm just going to get my crocodile and punch some holes in it. And I have some elastic. And I'm going to use the smaller hole and punch those holes. If you have small eyelets, you could put some small eyelets in this. I don't have small eyelets, I only have big eyelets. So I prefer not to an eyelet into it until I get some small ones, because you don't need a massive big hole. My elastic, I think I mentioned last time, it's had elastic, and it's 2.5 millimeters. So in Imperial, that's around about, and it's less than 1/8 of an inch, a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. So what you want is 1, 2 and a bit lengths, and you're going to start from the bottom and go down on the right hand side and up on the left hand hole, and then down on the top left and back up through the top right hole. Now you want it to be firm but not super tight. You don't want to distort your cover. And then I just snip that off, and there we go. You can see that I put the join at the back, and there's our lay flat cover ready for 2 journals. Isn't that fabulous? Now, like I said, I made this spine 1.5 inches. My journal here is 1 1/4. So let's flip over to that now, and I'll show you how it looks different. Okay, so there you go. You can see that we have more width in this second one that I've just made, and that's so that I can deal with all of the packaging, or if you're going to make it into a junk journal, you would want it to have a bit of extra space. Now, for those of you that are interested, I'm going to go on now with decorating my junk journal, putting pockets into it, and I'll give you the measurements of those, and also decorating it. So here we go. Here's our first signature that I've done. You can see that I used a flower, and I've got lots of texture, and it's nice and squishy. Those signatures, they're lovely because I've used that packaging that is that ribbed packaging as the cover, and then I've put on some of that honeycomb packaging that I had, and then I've also put on some green tissue paper that I got from some other packaging, and you can see here that I used some of that embossing that I did a few episodes ago, where I used tea bags and brown paper and I did some embossing. So I've used some pieces of that, and just onto some brown paper, this sort of packaging brown paper, I used a serviette. You can see on this one I used some lemons, and that was a serviette as well. So both serviettes, and then I have put it onto the brown paper and then just ripped it up and put it on. I've put a little bit of gesso onto the front of this and some inking. You can see that where the two of them together, you can see that this one's got a little bit of gesso on it. So that's the 2 signatures. Let's go on to putting our pockets on. Okay, so in my last episode with the postcards, I actually used a whole heap of my scraps out of my pot and out of my tray, and I just laid down some paper onto some packaging and then created a backdrop. Well, I did the same thing here, and you can see that I've got all different, I've got newspaper, I've got book page, I've got all different sorts of things. Then I've laid over a little bit of serviette and some Tim Holtz collage paper, a little bit of washi, and I have stamped on a few stamps as well, just to add a bit of an interest. Then I've finished it off with some white splatters. And my pocket, I used some brown paper, just like this, and I put down some Mod Podge, and then I put this green tissue paper onto it, and while it was drying I scrunched it all up, made it all textured, and I ended up with this lovely textured surface here. You can see that I have then backed it onto a piece of off-white cardstock and put it onto my pocket that I'm going to put on. So let me give you the measurements of this pocket. Now our journal is 8.5 inches high, which is 21.6 centimeters. And our pocket, when you're cutting it, we need it to be just slightly smaller than that. So we're going to go with 9 3/8 of an inch, which is 23.7 centimeters in length. And we're going to go in width 3 inches, which is 7.6 centimeters. And you're going to score it on 3 sides. You can see that I've scored it 1/2 inch on 3 sides, and I've notched it. So when you fold that, it now is a little bit smaller than our cover. You put it on there, it's slightly smaller than our cover, which is perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slide that onto my background. Now my background, the cardstock, just over 8 1/4. It's the 16th that is above that, so it's 21.1 centimeters by 6 1/8, which is 15.5. So slide that on, and I'm just going to glue that on to the back of my cardstock. Give it a burnish. Glue the ends down. Give them a burnish. And you can do whatever pockets you like, or no pockets, or whatever. It's your journal, you do whatever you like. And then I'm going to just glue that onto the back of my journal. And I'll put a decent amount around the edge of this. You can put your pockets on first. I've done that in the past, and then slide your decorative cardstock backing into the pocket if you want to. Just for speed, I was wanting to do it like this so that I could show you the different elements. It's probably a little bit quicker on the camera to do it like this than gluing twice. Okay, let's do the other side. And here we have another one. So it's the same thing. I put some scraps out of my tray down, some book page, some leftover collage soup, some dictionary, some newspaper, and then I Mod Podged over some serviette and then did a little bit of stamping as well. So let's put that in, and the pocket is the same size, and I've notched that out with my envelope punch, but you could just do a circle round if you wanted to, or nothing at all. And you can see that my miters on the corner of this pocket don't join. I definitely made sure that my miters, these pieces here, they didn't overlap. You can see that I've cut it out so that it doesn't overlap itself and give bulk. We don't want any bulk underneath the pocket. So give that a really good burnish. I'll just glue this down. Okay, I'll just stick this on. Get it straight. Straight would be good. Give it a really good burnish. There we go. There's the inside done with some lovely texture on here and some texture on our signatures. Now I have made 2 little clusters. I have used quite a bit of texture, and I've used flowers. So this one here, you can see that I used some of that embossing with the brown paper and the tea bag, and then embossed. And I talked about that on the first episode where I put the signatures together. Then I've got some of that honeycomb packaging. I've got a flower and just a ticket and one of those little jump ring embellishments and a little bit of white splatter. So let's glue that on. Just going to pop that down here. And this one, I've got some more of that embossing with the tea bag and the brown paper and the Stays On ink, and then just some other flowers and some of that honeycomb packaging and another label again, and a jump ring embellishment. So the same, but just different images. So some nice texture. I'm loving the squishiness of this journal. The cover is, hard and solid and sturdy, but the pages themselves are very squishy and tactile, which I'm loving. And I'm enjoying playing on them actually because of how textured they are. There we go. So I'm liking that. There's the inside. Let's put our signatures back in. You can see they slide in and out really easily. And you can work on them and just work on a page and then slide it back in. You can see that it needed that little bit extra, so that journal that we've made today with the slightly bigger spine would be better for these pages. And I may end up switching it out. I may end up doing something on the front of another one similar to this, and I might switch it out, but we'll see. But there we go. That's our journal for today. So there's the back with our textured embellishment on it and our scraps. And here's the front. We've got our lovely squishy covers with texture on them and flowers for our signatures. I hope you found that very helpful, and I hope that you have a little bit of a go at making the lay flat cover. Like I said, it's not my design. I found it from Tiffany at Let's Get Scrappy, so I'll link her video below of the one that I watched. And I think that she got it from somebody else, so nothing's new under the sun, as they say, but as long as we acknowledge the people that you learn it from. So I learned it from Tiffany, so you can head over to her video and see how she makes hers. And like I said, just change the sizes that you need. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video and you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. That would be wonderful. And subscribe to the channel. And I will see you very soon with another project. I've got another one to do in my journal. It's coming along, isn't it? Like there's some nice texture happening in here. All right, thanks so much and bye for now.